Thanks so much for joining me. Today we are featuring a lot of new makeup. I haven't been excited by new makeup recently, but then there were a few releases that I was really interested in. So we are trying that all out today. If you have been here before, you will know that this is much more editorial than what I normally do, but it was inspired by a palette because I couldn't figure out how to use it. So this is the Victoria Beckham palette, one of her new palettes. This is what really gets me interested in new makeup or new formulations, so something like this. So I've tried her other palettes before, her other eye palettes, so I wanted to see if this was any different. This one is a Night Flash, and this one is not intuitive. In fact, I don't think any of her new palettes are intuitive in terms of their configuration and what colors were selected to go in them. But this was the most usable of the, I think there were 4 that I could see. Now, let me know if you found anything different from them, but just on initial viewing of the colors and how they were put together, there were none that really stood out as, oh, I know how to use this. So this one sat in a box for a while as I looked at the images online, trying to figure out how to use this. And I just stumbled upon an article this morning that inspired this look. So this was inspired out of, what is the word I'm looking for? The constraints were what inspired this. So it's not set up like a palette I would normally select. So I found these images from an article from Vogue online. I'll try to remember to link it, but it says, Hermes Subtle Smoky Eyes, the easiest new season beauty look to try at home. So I wanted to see if it was easy, and what I loved here is that it's a little bit different than what we've done in the past, or recently actually. And this focused on the skin being more matte, which I have not been doing. I've been using very glowy products on my skin, so you'll see the skin is a different kind of canvas today because of the inspiration here, which I really liked. So we'll talk a little bit more about how I got this base going here. And then the creative director of Hermes said this season, she doesn't have time to look around. She's focused, she's determined, she's moving forward. So this is what they called the 100-yard stare that they created here with this eye look, which really capitalized on this contrast between the shadows and very little, I mean, there is blending, but there isn't like a gradual blending of the colors. It just seemed like there was more of a contrast. You'll also notice I added color here on the interior. Usually I will add this contrast, the darkest shade, only on the exterior, but I kind of followed this inspiration to get this 100-yard stare going. So that's what I use this palette for. And I'll give you my review on the actual palette itself, or my first impression. I haven't completely used this in other ways to give a very thoughtful review, but I do have first impressions. Of course, since this is Hermes, I did pick up one of their new lip products, which is a new formulation for them as well. This is in 48. I wanted to go with something that was cool toned. So we have this, and of course, again, I will share my thoughts at the end. And YSL came out with blushes, and I wanted also a cool shade. Now, in both cases, cool shades seem to be less available than neutral or warm shades. But I found this in 44, which is this beautiful shade that I have on now. And then I picked up a Dior product. So you might be surprised at the shade that I picked up, but it is an 02, which looks a little bit, I think, what I would think was light for me. I mean, look at my skin tone. But I'll give you my thoughts on this. And I have the glow version, so they have glow and matte. So I did want to try something different today. So if you have been here before and are a loyal viewer, you will know this is very different compared to what I do. So please let me know if you're interested in seeing more like this. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you are new here, I would really love it if you would subscribe. It would make a huge difference. And please also let me know what you would like to see. But typically I do very wearable makeup, but in this case, I feel like I only had the choice to do this kind of makeup with the palette I was using today. Although I have to say, with a little bit more experience with this, I think I have figured out a way to make this very wearable. But if you'd like to see this look and hear my thoughts, please keep watching. Okay, so we're going to try to follow the idea of this article. I really was inspired by the Hermes Fall 2025 show. The makeup, it was beautiful, polished, yet still simple and not overdone. And I think there's a really careful balance there because I think with this kind of makeup, it can quickly go to too made up. So let's experiment because I haven't tried this yet. I do have though on my face some SPF because we're going out later. I'm not going to be in direct sun, but just anytime I go outside or even inside here. So I've got the Iris and Romeo Weekend Skin on already. So if you've been here before, this is my daily SPF now. It's SPF 50, it's got vitamin C, it's mineral. So let's see how this makeup actually performs on it. This will be a nice experiment. Actually, like I said, this whole thing's kind of an experiment. I haven't tried it, but when we get to eye palette, I'll show you why I was excited that this popped up because I really am not sure how to use this palette. Going in with this Chanel Ultra Le Temps, this is one of my more matte finishes. Now looking closely at the models, it looks perfected on first appearance, but looking more closely, I can see they have freckles on their skin, which I love. I wish I had these as freckles versus spots, but they were spots, so we're gonna have to just deal with those. So I've got the Ultra Le Temps by Chanel. Mine is in BD41. So even though we want a more matte skin, I'm not going to go heavy on this. And I think maybe that's the, at least for me, misconception of matte makeup is that it's usually very makeup looking and that it just looks too perfect. But in this case, the finish is matte, but the actual coverage is not perfect. So I've got here a BK Beauty 101. Of course, you can do a very perfected look with this foundation. I think this is one of my most perfecting foundations, but I just want more of the finish versus the perfecting aspect. Okay, so also the interaction between the SPF and the makeup is pretty good in that I'm not noticing any kind of pilling up, which can happen sometimes when two different products are layered on the skin. I'm just gonna go on the eyes a little bit because we're gonna do something kind of interesting with the eyeshadow. Let's go in with the Chanel Under Eye Concealer. This is in 40. This is my go-to for a little bit more perfected look. I definitely have different concealers based on the overall look that I'm going for, and this is a little bit more polished. Okay, for once I didn't add too much of that concealer. Usually I end up adding too much. It can definitely look more obvious when I add too much. Yeah, I have my essentials here in this little Chantecaille acrylic bag they gave me one long time ago with, gosh, it was like a holiday collection or gold thing. I can't remember, but my essentials are in here. We've got the Sweed Bright, which is essential to help brighten this area for me. Then of course, Trench by Victoria Beckham. I know we want to see the skin, but I don't really want to see these dark spots. And then under the chin, just slightly. And in the outer corner. Okay. Oh yeah, if I forget to mention, I do have the same nail polish they were featuring in the runway show. It was Rose Porcelaine. Yeah, it's hit or miss on the market, I think because so many people have discovered this, but this is the one I've had for, I'm gonna say over a year now, and that's what I have on my nails, and it's just a really pretty neutral shade. It's kind of translucent. So if you haven't tried this, I have this on and I really have been talking about getting a new top coat. I really need a new top coat here, but this is still really, really nice and really fluid here. If you were wondering what nail they had on in that. So now that we have that, since they are like, I'm still not getting matte here, I am gonna go in with something I haven't used for a while. Let's go in with this, just in the center, Perfect Blur Powder. This is by Chantecaille. Yeah, I noticed they didn't have any shininess, although also, oh, you know what? I was gonna go in with the Clé powder. Well, either way would be nice. If you want something a little bit more lightweight, I think the Clé powder would be beautiful as well. I just quickly went for this because I know it will do a nice job of taking this down and blurring. And it also brightens my skin tone a little bit. This is in light medium. There's a bit of a peachiness to it, which I love, and you can see it just brings life to my skin. Then I looked at their brows, and their brows were pretty minimal. One of the models looks like she has pencil in her eyebrows, but some of them don't. Like the one that's closer to my coloring doesn't appear as though she has any, but I'm gonna add a little bit. Let's do the brow gel first, and this is a Jones Road in the translucent. I'm still waiting for their light brunette to show back up, but I have not seen it yet. But I think doing this helps to polish the look. Let's let that set in for a little bit. So while we do that, I'm gonna go in with a brow in a little bit. Let's do bronzer because this one looked really interesting to me. Now, I did read something interesting about this Dior Forever bronzer. First of all, let's look at the packaging. I did film some shorts here showing up close of this, and you can see how beautiful that is. I think they did a really nice job with the packaging. And then we've got here the bronzer. So this one is in 02, and you might be wondering why would I pick 02? So I looked at the undertones of this, and that's what really did it for me. I did look on another site, maybe it was Sephora, and I feel like the colors were a different coating. I was a little bit confused. And this has the most golden looking tone according to what I'm looking at. So one thing that was really interesting here is that it says it's heat and humidity resistant. There's also a glow or a matte finish here, and I picked the glow version because I do like a little bit more glow on the exterior. So that's why I picked the glow. It's got hyaluronic acid and vitamin C derivative. The bronzer is made of 95% natural origin ingredients. It does say it's enriched with Dior's Tan Beautifier Complex for a lasting tan effect. That's where I was a little bit unsure of what that really meant. Let me know if you know what that means. But it does say to apply to the high parts of the face where the sun naturally hits. For sculpting effect, focus on the area beneath the jaw to create dimension, which is what I do. So we're gonna use this to create dimension versus hitting the face as if it were sun. Very curious. I have no idea. I have not swatched this yet. So let's see together. This again looked like it had the most golden tone. Okay, I'm looking down here though. It looks like the Armani bronzer has really nice ratings because if you're on the Nordstrom site, it'll show you other things that are related to it. So let's take a little bit on this SONIA G brush and let's go under the cheekbone. Because I'm, again, using it for sculpting. Okay, so far, nice. Typically looking for bronzers that remind me of the Hermes bronzer, which I love because it's got a golden tone. Actually, let's right here. Let's take a look. So here's the Hermes in 02 Atlas and here's the Dior in 02. Oh, actually, they don't look really that far off. It looks like this one might have a little bit more of an orange tone, the Dior. I mean, it's not orangey, but it's just got a little bit more orange in the pan than the Hermes. Okay, so let's do half. Always helpful to do half. Okay, this brush though, I just washed it. This is a really nice brush for this area right here. It just follows the line really well. Okay, so there's half. Really natural. I like that. So if you like a more subtle bronzer, not so obvious, then this is a really nice one if you are around my skin tone. Again, BD41. Again, BD41 is my ideal shade match in Chanel foundation, which is what I have on now. This is BD41 if I did not say earlier. Although B40 isn't bad either, but BD41 is just better. This is really quite natural looking. So if you tend to go overboard with bronzer and you don't mean to, then this is a good one. It builds slowly, which is for someone like me good because I can get carried away with things like mascara and bronzer and sometimes blush. So let's go ahead and just fill these brows in really fast and then we'll do the eye. Okay, that was Taupe by Victoria Beckham in the brow product, Baby Blade, Taupe. So this is a part where I'm a little bit nervous because I have not tried this palette yet. I don't know how quickly or slowly it builds up. So I have not practiced this. And the look is very different. It's very different than what I normally do, although it doesn't look like it. If you look at the image, it looks like it's easy to do. So I think they used eyeliners in theirs, and this is not an eyeliner, of course, this is powder. But I think that this article helped me figure out how to use this because This is not, like I said, intuitive, because this is what I like in a palette. I like a base that's going to kind of even out the entire lid so I can have something to work with. So this is like a kind of going to be that, but they used a translucent powder in their look to keep the colors from blending together. So we're going to use this as kind of the translucent powder color. Then I like something that's going to be a crease color, something that's not too shimmery, that can work as a crease color. This doesn't have one. If you look at this, this is very sparkly, and then this is more of like the medium tone that I would pick. So I like to have, this is what I like to have, just a single color that will even things out, a nice medium toned crease color, nothing too shimmery, a deeper color like this, but not this deep, for the exterior corner, and something that can act as an eyeliner, and then something that's in between those two colors, the crease color and the deepest color, to kind of blend between the deepest color and the lid. So those are the things I like, and then maybe something like a pop of shimmer that you could put here, but not too sparkly. What I'm not seeing here is a really obvious crease color. So something in between would have been nice, and I think that's what I saw in the palettes in general, was that the colors that they chose were very either close together or extreme, and there wasn't like a high, medium, low, if that makes sense. If they could have replaced this color with something that was in between these two tones in terms of intensity, I think we would have been good. So that is my on the surface impression of this. Okay, but now, since we didn't have that middle shade, which is what I was struggling with how to use this, we're gonna try the Hermes look. It was very timely that I saw that this morning, because I was, until that moment, still not sure what I was doing with this. And I've been looking at this for maybe a week. So let's go ahead with the first color. It's very like traditional powder looking formula. You know, we've got next generation formulas. This doesn't seem like it. I get a lot of like powder when I go into the palette. Oh, by the way, I did not buy the case because I have so much makeup, I don't have room for a case. So I just bought the refill, and if I really love it and it's something I'll use over and over, then I will buy a case, but I've got to try this out first. So let's just go in with that lightest color. Okay, so we've got a little bit of that foundation that I swept on there, kind of gathering. So let's smooth that out. Okay, so that's a great, actually that's a really nice base. Matte, it's like a vanilla shade. It's got a little bit of warmth to it. It's not like a yellow tone. It's a little beigey, a little, almost a little peach in there, but it's not peach by any means, but it just has like a kind of the tone of the powder, the Perfect Blur. So this is the Perfect Blur powder, and this is the Victoria Beckham palette. So you can see how they kind of remind me of each other. Okay, now here is the tricky part. It looks pretty dark on the exterior, but if you, or if I'm just speaking for me, if I go too dark, there's no coming back. So let's do it this way. Hold on, let me get a couple of brushes that make sense. I was just looking for a few fluffy brushes at my disposal for lots of blending, because that's the only way I can get out of this if I go in too much at once here. So let's start off with something a little predictable. We're gonna put it, this one right here, and we're going to go in the exterior. Now, another thing about this look that I'm looking at, this is really pretty though, this color. It's like a minky gray color. They went on the inner corner, which I do not do. I do not apply shadow here, but they did, so we're gonna try. So let's just go a little bit of color there. We'll build it. So like this to me is more realistic. I like this a lot actually for this barely there makeup, but we're gonna see what this palette can do. So we will build on, for those of you who like a little bit more obvious makeup. Okay, I'm gonna take, that was the number 27 refer, nice and fluffy. Now we're gonna take this number 12, which is not fluffy, to place it in the inner corner. I'm gonna reference the photo here. They have a lot going on. I don't have as much, she doesn't have as much eyelid space either, but her eyes are a little bit like longer this way. But I'm gonna take this same color. We're gonna take this color. I really like this color. This again, if you wanna see. And we're gonna go in the inner corner a little bit and just build this. They call this stair the like 100, what do they call this? We're creating a 100-yard stair. Yeah, these are supposed to be subtly smoky eyes. It's very focused, very determined moving forward is the look they're going for. So not something soft. So we've got here this. Okay, now this is where we're gonna build. They have a darker color on the exterior, and this is where it can go awry very quickly. So this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take a little brush, Wayne Goss brush, very old brush. I don't know if they make this. I know he made some new brushes. I think these are still one of my favorite eye brushes ever, are these, because they're small. So we're going to go in the outer corner with this. You can see why I'm hesitant about this, because it's so intense, and that's what I expected. So let's go in the outer corner. But it's kind of messy. Like, I'm looking at how they did this here, and it's not super perfected. There's a little bit of like a rushed aspect to it, which I think is probably intentional. Okay, so let's play here. Wow, so you can see how that quickly intensifies, which is not a bad thing. So we're gonna take, I think this is where brushes are really important. Like, choosing the right brush here could make or break this, because I feel like control is really important here. Okay, let's take this darkest shade again. I just have a rougher number 2 brush, and we're gonna go along the outer corner here on the bottom, but it's kind of like smudged out again. Okay, I did not mean to do that. Wow, that's a little too much. Hold on. This is where the multiple brushes is going to come in handy, because if I have a clean brush, it can help me just soften this a little bit, because I did not want it that like a graphic kind of eye. Okay, let's take another clean brush. This is a BK 203. I'm just trying to find something that's going to kind of be a little bit more dense to break this up a little bit. Because I don't want to look like that. What's that Robert Palmer video? I mean, it kind of looks like that. They had way more makeup in that video. Okay, so I'm going to take a rougher number 23 for the inner corner. So they took very similar like dark shadow or eyeliner in the inner corner. So we're going to do that here, which I don't ever do. And I'm just gonna pat that in with my hand. Oh wow, that looks really intense. But also, they're on the runway, so the lights are gonna be a lot brighter than this even. So I have a feeling they may have had this much makeup on. And they have very little mascara, but you know I love mascara, so we're gonna have to do some mascara. So let's take some of this, the lighter shade, and we're just gonna kind of buff that in. This one right here, let's take that and buff that in a little bit. Over here, kind of acts like an eraser of sorts. This is a number 12 rougher. And then let's do that down here as well. I feel like I need to clear this area a little bit because they left it without makeup in the middle there. So I'm gonna have to remove some somehow. But let me just fix this. And then let me even these out for you, and then let's take a look. Okay, I'm gonna have to remove, let me find something to remove this, like a little Q-tip. Maybe I'll put a little trench there to help. So let me even these out, and then I'll show you before I add mascara. Okay, additionally, I just added a little concealer here to clean up the edges. I might have to do some, let me look at the picture again. I feel like it's not that far off. I feel like maybe if we add just a little bit more of the darkest shade. So I've been using this to smudge, so I don't want to use that one, but I do want something that's going to be a little bit more precise. Let's use this number 2. We're just gonna place this over here. So I just added a little bit more here because it kind of was doing this too much. So I feel like that's a little bit closer, and then I'm just gonna take this color again, this lightest shade here, add that to the center. This pencil, like it's like a pencil eraser, no, the number 12. Right in between. and underneath as well. Because like I said, they used a like translucent powder, but we use the powder that's in the palette. Okay, I feel like that looks close. It's not perfect. And they really hardly have any mascara. So let's do this. Let's leave it like that first, and then we'll add mascara last, and then we can see what we think. I mean, that is very different for me, but it's definitely more like what I'm seeing here. I might be totally off, but it looks very similar to me. This is the YSL blush. I would like to try the Hermes blush, but it's really hard to get a hold of. So this one is in 44. This was the coolest of the shades that I could find. I wanted to go cooler with the cheek and the lip, knowing that this was cool as well. So let me do that. There's a little fallout with this. I don't think this is the easiest palette to use. And I think it's the way I'm using it too. Like I'm having it do other things I don't normally do. So let's go ahead with this YSL blush again. It's in 44. It's the Make Me Blush. And I could not remove this sticker. There's a sticker on the mirror. I can't, for some reason it's not. Here's what it looks like though. They don't have much blush here, but they do have, I can see there's a little bit of like a hint of a blush there. So let's go with that. Just a little bit of blush because we have a lot happening here with the eye. And it was almost like right here, not too much. Like that is even too much. But let's just put a little more on than normal so you can see the color. I think it's really pretty. Yeah, I've been realizing I don't have as many cool blushes or cool lip colors as I would like. I have a lot of berry tones, but not like light pink tones. Let's just take a bit of the Perfect Blur powder and then buff that in. So I love using that Perfect Blur powder to really buff the blush in, so it's very seamless looking, and that's still the power of that powder. Even though I haven't been using powder recently, you can see what it can do. Okay, let's go in with the lip. Now, of course, they used the new lip product by Hermes, and they talked about one of the other ones. What was it called? It was there's one they used as a shadow. It was I saw that one, but I didn't pick it up. It was this Bruncelier. They said it looks like a shadow, but I picked this one. It looked pretty. That's why I liked this one. It was the one in Rose Boisé 48. Brilliant Rose Boisé. So it was one of the cooler ones also because they tended to go warm. So I think it's 21 Rose a piece or Rose Spice in the lipstick formula, but I wanted to try something with a cooler undertone. Okay, right away, I really like how this feels. I love more translucent colors with a lot of hydration. This is immediately going to the bag. It feels like it has really nice hydration, but not glossy. Also like a smooth, really smooth kind of feeling. So I'm just turning it on its edge here to kind of align very precisely. So just a little bit more pigment on the exterior to even it out. Love this. Okay, so this is pretty much the look that I can perceive from the image I'm looking at. Of course, I'm not a runway model, so I'm not gonna look exactly like them, but this is definitely more editorial than what I typically do. So what do you think? What do we think of this editorial look? I don't think I would wear this every day, but it was fun to play with. I do love mascara, so I want to see how this looks with mascara. I mean, actually, I think this is very much a very specific look though. Very runway. Someone was being very artistic here, but for every day, for me, no, not really. But like I said, it was fun to play with. So even though I think this is interesting, but let's add this mascara because I can't not add mascara. Bossy Longest Lash, of course, by Chantecaille. Okay, I'll catch that when it dries with a little spoolie. We won't put so much mascara, but at least a little bit. Yeah, to me that just opens up the eye. So here we are with the final look. I definitely think I prefer the mascara myself. I would have to get used to no mascara. I'm just so used to mascara, but I did a thinner layer compared to what I normally do. And then I went through and I just took my hair and then wrapped one piece of hair around to hold it in a ponytail. And I have hairpins back there just on the bottom. Let me know if you want to see how to do that. It was really simple, but I was trying to emulate what they did. So they were trying to make their hair look like horsetails. And I just put on a little bit of this Arey, I forgot I had this, Arey Leave-In Mist. It's a lightweight leave-in conditioner that smooths and detangles while protecting against UV rays. Oh, speaking of UV rays, the SPF seems to be working really nicely under this foundation. But also this has UV protection if you want to protect your hair. But I thought I'd just mention that is how I styled it. Quick review on each of these products. So we've got the palette here. There is definitely a very traditional formulation to this in that there's a little bit of fallout like with other powdery type eyeshadows, but I have to say I like these better than the previous. The previous ones were fine, but they were a little bit drier, a little bit harder to get the pigment off the palette. These are much easier to pick up. There is quite a bit of color payoff, especially since these are deeper colors. I didn't go into this sparkly shade. I mean, it's pretty dense. Let's see, let me just swatch it really fast for you. So there's some sparkle there. You can see it catching the light, but I did not apply that today. I didn't want to be too sparkly on the eye just because we were trying to keep it polished and very sophisticated. So to me, I really liked the way that this ended up. But again, I did have fallout here. I had to clean up over here. So just, this is one of those eyeshadows that if you want to do your eyes with this deepest shade, especially, do this first and then do your face makeup. So that's how to get around that. But I think I would wear it like this. I would wear this color as a base, really beautiful base. I think it really evened out the skin tone, kind of brightened it a little bit. And then I would go in with this like I did at the beginning. And then I would use this as an eyeliner. That's how I would use this. And then I would use this sparingly in the evening. I don't see many with these kinds of tones in them. So if you're looking for that cooler, neutral palette with a lot of drama, this is nice. But again, this is along the lines of more traditional formulation, not the next generation kinds of formulations. Like Hermes has more creamy texture to it. And then Clé de Peau also has more of a creamy texture. I wouldn't put it in the same category as those. I would put it in the category of more traditional. For the blush, I thought this was really beautiful. I'm excited to wear this because I don't have many cool blushes that I wear just on a regular, but this might be one of those. Really lovely, went on easily. And then we've got here this bronzer, really lovely, very subtle. I like that. I like subtle. I don't like really obvious makeup, but you can see it just added a little bit of dimension, just slight dimension. It is something I'll be pulling for frequently and testing it out, but so far I really like it. Do I need this? I still love this, the Hermes Atlas. I still love that, but let's see how this compares because the Hermes Atlas was my favorite of the year last year. So this is something I will test against the Atlas because I loved that one so much. This was my favorite thing I tried today. So this has a beautiful color to it. It's on the cooler side. It just evens out my lip tone here. It's very smoothing. Feels still very smoothing. Like it's not waxy, but there's a difference between like the fluid nature of a gloss where it's thinner and a more waxy lip balm. To me, this is closer to a balm kind of texture than it is to like a solid gloss. So I really like this and it's going immediately to my bag. I think it really rounded out this look beautifully, but let me know again if you like these editorial. I mean, it was fun to play with. It was, though, I forgot to say, to create this look was not easy. I didn't use the same makeup products that they talked about. They talked about eyeliners, which I can see placing it more strategically is going to be a lot easier with an eyeliner versus a powder, dealing with a fallout. But I don't think this was easy. I think it took a lot of work. But this was definitely not easy for me. It took a lot of effort, so it's not effortless. I would like to try it with pencils. Let me know if you've tried this with pencils, what you think. They're of course recommending some Hermes pencils for that. I've never picked up their eye pencils. Let me know. Be curious to try this again with pencils, see how it goes. I hope that was helpful for you in case you were interested in this look, doing something a little bit different, seeing how makeup looks kind of change over time and going back to more of this matte look. But do let me know if you have been trying these products, loving them. Let me know how you're using them. Please leave that in the comment section below. So that is my 100-yard stare look. I hope you enjoyed it. But that is it for today's video, so please take care of each other. Stay well if you enjoyed this video. If you learned something, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and I will see you next time.